All right, joining us now to discuss constitutional law attorney Amir Benno and distinguished university professor at Touro College, Thane Rosenbaum. Thane, I guess I don't understand what the purpose would be of this special master. And the reason I say that is, like, before they had the documents, I could understand them saying, hang on a second, let me take a look. Okay, the DOJ can have this, they can't have that. But now the DOJ has seen everything. This sounds almost like, well, you'll be allowed to use this in court, but you can't use this in court.
Right, Bob, but that would determine whether they can actually prove their case, right? So imagine if the special master goes through the 10,000 pages of documents.
Oh, my.
The government has already said that they already found 500 pages that would be subject to the attorney-client privilege. Let's say that they're wrong. It's really 1,000 pages. Let's say there's several thousand more pages that are subject to the executive privilege, which the judge just opened up the door and rejected the Justice Department's argument that it doesn't apply to a former president. Now, all of a sudden, you can imagine 30% of all those pages are no longer available to show to a jury. By the way, Bob, I'm not even sure how this would work, because if all of these documents impinged on national security, how do you even show them to a jury? I've never really understood how this case would work. A week ago, we weren't allowed to see anything. Everything was redacted. How are they going to show any of these documents? But I think the simple argument is to say it would reduce the amount of evidentiary material that would be available to show to a grand jury and to a regular jury. And of course, prosecutors, it's not enough to just indict. You have to prove your case. Yeah. And the evidence would be Exhibit A, right? The documents themselves, whether if they're classified but also subject to some other privilege and can't be shown, that would reduce the chances of the prosecution prevailing. Okay.
Then let's, Amir, talk about, from the side of former President Trump, this could be a great way for them to delay. I mean, if you've got 10,000 documents, just an estimate, and this person is going through, I don't care how fast they are. I assume the DOJ was able to go through things fast because they had dozens of people working on them and knew what they were looking for, and probably took a lot of copies. So this process, Amir, would it be the special master takes a look at this and they say, you can't use this, or the DOJ can use this, and the Trump team says, hold on, we appeal that. We need to take a look at that. We want to argue that. Multiply that times 10,000.
Oh, certainly it's going to drag things out. And maybe that is part of the strategy here, because the closer we get to 2024, if Donald Trump does run and if Donald Trump is elected, he cannot be, under the Constitution, he cannot be criminally prosecuted under Article 2. So any criminal prosecution would have to stop at that point. And maybe that is their tactic. But what's really important here is, and Thane mentioned it, is that the FBI didn't even have a filter team in place to review for executive privilege. Those are those confidential communications between the president's advisors and the president that we want to encourage. And they didn't even try to filter those out. So if it turns out that that the investigation team is now looking and building a case on documents that they have no legal right to even possess, let alone to look at, then their entire criminal investigation is tainted and can be thrown out, and this whole thing may go right down right down the drain. So there's a lot riding on this. Yes, it will take a lot of time, but these are very important legal issues.
And then let's talk about the special master as an ultimate answer. It's still possible, I'm guessing, Thane, that they could appeal this. I don't know if they can judge shop. I don't know how it works at that level, but can they try to say, well, if we go to the 9th district, or we go to to the appeals court, they're going to be more amenable to our view than a Trump-appointed, that's the criticism, a Trump-appointed judge. And then does this eventually go to the Supreme Court, where they decide on whether there should be a special master at this relatively low level?
Well, good luck with that one, Bob, because they would have to go to the 11th Circuit in Atlanta.
Okay.
And it just so happens there are 11 judges on the 11th Circuit, and 6 of them were appointed by Donald Trump. So in terms of judge shopping, if the Justice Department thinks they're going to get a better decision, they might. But if you do believe that judges, Article 3 judges, have a partiality to the people that appointed them or the party that appointed them.
Yeah.
In this case, they're going to be running up against 6 of the judges that were only recently appointed by Donald Trump.
Yeah, and maybe they're doing that math, at which point, Amir, they say it's not worth it because even if they come out with this and we appeal to the Supreme Court, still this may not work out. So now it looks like this is a time game. Isn't part of the game here about time?
Yeah, most certainly it is about time. I'll mention one thing about there's almost no chance that the DOJ would succeed on an appeal here. There's a lot of discretion given to the district court, the lower court judge, that's Judge Cannon, to decide whether to appoint a special master, whether it's appropriate. And they're not going to second guess her here. She issued a very well-reasoned decision. She backed up all of her determinations with legal authority. But just to complicate things, normally this would go to the 11th Circuit, but on certain issues of executive privilege and whether or not the are turn over material to the public that the president or the former president is asserting privilege, the statute actually requires that those issues be litigated in the D.C. Circuit. So we may see a split in the circuits with certain issues having to be adjudicated in one place and certain issues in another place. And to your point, Bob, that will drag things out. This certainly will drag things out quite a bit.
All right. Well, that'll give us plenty to talk about. So Amir Benno and Thane Rosenbaum, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you, Bob.
All right, coming up.